Hello, folks. This is Brad Davis from Chad and Brad Live, coming to you with a one-on-one interview with head coach of our East Surrey Cardinals football program, Coach Trent Lowman. Coach, thanks for sitting down with me, man. How you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir. You're a hard man to track down. You've been a very, very busy guy this week. We've kept up with you on all the social media, and you and I were talking here a little bit off of radio or audio about what Chad and I are trying to do, and just wanted to be the first one to tell you from Chad and Brad Live, congratulations on being Western Regional champions. Holy cow, that's unbelievable. What's our overall record right now? 11-3.
We are 11-3.
11-3 overall. Heading to Carter Finley Stadium this Saturday to play on the campus of NC State University versus Tarboro for the state championship. And, Coach, what we wanted to do is maybe take this time to let our listeners and folks who listen on YouTube to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you came from, and let's just have some fun.
Sure. Well, I'm married to my wife, Heather. She's a third grade teacher at Westfield Elementary School, and we will be celebrating our 9th anniversary in a week.
Awesome. Another congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
And we have two girls that are with us. Aniston is 10 and Scarlett is 5. And I have 3 older stepchildren that are 22, 20, and getting ready to be 18.
Wow. Got them all over.
So we got them all over.
That's good. Age-wise, that's great. And we've got Aniston. Aniston's actually here live with us. Welcome, Aniston. Can you say hello to everybody?
Aniston has been, since I became a head coach in 2013, Aniston has been with me a lot.
Yes.
And she really likes it. And she gets in and gets to where she gets to know the boys and gets attached to them. And so that's a special thing about being a coach is when you see your kids get to do that too.
Yeah.
But about me, that's my family. We moved up here, finally got into a house on September 28th.
Mm-hmm. Had a long wait there, yes.
Had a long wait. But before coming here, I was head coach at Bandy's High School for 5 years, and I spent a total of, I guess, about 8 years coaching there before that.
Right.
Before my father, I coached at Lenoir University for 3 years. But I've been involved with football my whole life.
Right.
My father coached for 33 years, was a head coach for 27. So I grew up like Aniston. I grew up in the coach's office, in the locker room, and on the sidelines, and it's just got a special place in my heart. Yeah,
there's nothing like it. I've been involved in coaching, youth sports since I was graduated from high school. And actually I coached a little bit my the end of my senior year basketball season, youth basketball. And I've coached in high school for a total of 5 seasons. And I know having my kids there running around and being gym rats. And you're right, it's a special time to have your kids get to know the kids, your other kids that you're coaching,
right.
and they kind of learn from one another. It's a neat thing. Speaking of, you mentioned your dad being a head football coach. I assume you played for your dad?
I did, yes, sir.
What are some of I was talking to Chad earlier on the phone, and he had a great question. What is it like, number one, playing for your father, and then number two, what are some of the things you learned playing for him that maybe you say, hey, I'm definitely doing those things now, right. or wow, I ain't never going to do that.
The one thing that I think my dad did a really good job was separating himself as coach and as dad. Mm-hmm. When we went home, he was not my coach. Right. He was my dad.
Right.
And when we were on the field, he was coach all the way.
Yeah.
Playing for him, I feel bad for him because I was the quarterback for the son of the head coach. So,
right.
The fans loved him for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But my passes had to be perfect.
Yes.
I remember throwing one and it hit a receiver dead in the chest between the numbers, and he dropped it. My dad went off on me for throwing the ball at the wrong spot. So everything I did always had to be a little bit better than everybody else.
Right.
But I feel I had an older brother that my dad coached first,
mm-hmm.
so I got some of that out before it got to me.
Right. So he learned a little bit.
The
second time around.
And the biggest things I learned from my dad was when I actually coached with him and under him when he was the head coach and I was defense coordinator, and just how even if we were struggling, say on defense one game,
right.
and as defense coordinator, he didn't step in and put his foot down and say, you need to do this.
Right.
He stayed back and let us as a defensive staff figure it out and work through it, because the only way we were going to grow as coaches is if we did the coaching and the thinking. And the big thing that I learned from Dad was to let your coaches coach, because if you don't let them coach, they're not going to get any better themselves, and they're not going to be confident in what they're coaching in the first place.
Makes total sense. And I know you've learned a lot from him. And as how hard was it for you to leave Bandy's? And I guess leave that. The first thing I thought of was you not only do you leave a place you've been for a long time, but you maybe they were wanting you to stay as long as your dad did and carry the torch.
It was the time was right. My brother and I were still there together, and we enjoyed coaching together. And there were several people in the school building that I was good friends with that were teachers. But at the same time, the time was right.
Right.
There had been a Lowman in charge for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And it was time for us as a family to move on and to be ourselves. And it was time for Bandy's to have a fresh face and a fresh name in there.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, I know there's a lot of people down there happy for you and pulling for you up here, as I'm sure you were them as well. We talked about we're 11-3 overall right now, headed into Saturday. Describe what this season has been like so far. I guess from the time you got here, and then going through the stresses of moving and then not having a permanent place yet with your family. We talked about a while ago how sometimes we try to make things happen and we want it right then, but it just wasn't time yet. And so from there all the way through to where we are now, like the ups, the downs, just talk a little bit about it if you can.
It's been, we've sat around this week a lot as coaches and we've talked about it. And as long as the season's been, they've added on an extra week from the hurricane, and it's a long season anyway.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
We've played all the way now to the state championship, and we all sit here and we're talking about how fast it's actually went by.
Yeah.
How much fun we've had that we can't believe it's coming to an end now.
Yeah.
A lot of years, you've got 4 weeks to go, and you're not sure how you're going to make it.
Right.
And this year we're down to 3 days.
Yeah.
And wishing there were more.
Oh yeah.
It's been a good year. It's been a great year in the locker room with the players and on the practice field, and the coaches have worked very well together, and it's just we have all enjoyed it so much this year.
That's great.
There hasn't been a low that didn't immediately feel like a high, and that we learned something from. It wasn't. There was nothing bad that happened that we just sat down and dwelled on it and worried about it.
Right.
And that goes to the credit of the kids a lot.
Yeah.
The West Oaks game, if there was a way to turn it over, we did it that night. We had 7 turnovers and missed a field goal. But as soon as we came off the field, our kids knew that we blew that game, and they knew that they weren't going to do that again.
Right. And I think a little bit maybe, and I don't know if necessarily blew it in the Mount Airy game, the regular season game, but I think I read maybe a comment from you. I know certainly myself being there as a fan felt like it, that we had it. That was our game, And I remember when we scored to go ahead, you hear commentators on television on college football or NFL, they say, may have scored too early.
Right.
First thing I thought of, but you score.
Right.
You got to. But that's kind of one of the things where those 2 games, they were ours.
Yeah, and even that Mount Airy game, as soon as we walked in the locker room, and that was one thing I said to the kids, but they knew it already. I told them, if you don't know you're good enough to beat the number 1 team in the West now, you weren't on the same field I was tonight.
Yeah.
If nothing else, they proved it to themselves that
Right.
night. And that spring us through the playoffs to get us to where we are now.
Absolutely. You answered one of my questions there. I was going to say, tell me a little bit about your staff, getting to know those guys, because I know Coach Johnson was just here. I know Coach Witt, Coach Haywood, the other folks I don't know well, but I think for the most part they were all here. So how was it coming in and coming in to coach after Coach David Diamond leaves, who obviously is a wonderful coach, great coach, tons of history here, and then you have that same staff in place. You guys got to get to know one another. a lot of stuff going on there, and it seems like it's turned out well.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes I wonder if I'm a glutton for punishment a little bit, but because first off, when I took the job at Bandy's, and anybody that was, talking to me would tell me you don't need to follow your dad.
Right.
You don't need to follow someone that has been there for 30 years and been in the state championship 3 times and all that stuff, because you're trying to replace the legacy. So I did. And then when I started looking at East Surrey, and everybody said you don't need to follow another legend. You've done this once, don't do that again. And I've talked to some other coaches that are good friends that have moved around and taken jobs, and talked about how hard it was to take a job where you don't bring any of your assistants with you, to where you go in by yourself and have to get to know everybody. And I was told not to do that too, and so I did. But I'm gonna tell you, it has worked out. I am as happy as I've ever been coaching football, and with this coaching staff. One of the things, and I said it from my opening day, these coaches and those kids in this program were as successful and are as successful as they are for a reason. And Coach Diamond ran this thing and left this thing in a very good position. These kids know how to play football. They work well together. These coaches know how to coach. Nobody in here in the coaching office or the locker room is bigger than the team, and that just speaks volume to the community. It speaks volumes to the assistant coaches and to Coach Diamond in the way that he had this program going. Yeah,
absolutely. I think we always, and I've heard there's many times I talk to people, try to get advice, and again, it's sometimes maybe what you don't want to hear, but these other coaches that go out and they take that advice and they say, hey, we're not going to follow in a legend's footsteps. We're not going to do those things. You never know until you do them. So it's obviously working out good for you now, and you talked about how these kids and coaches have helped you out so much and mean so much. We've got, I feel like here in Pilot Mountain, a great feeding program as far as your Little League football programs.
Absolutely.
All the way through to with travel baseball, travel basketball. There's a lot of people out there helping to try to make you guys' jobs easier when they get up here. So how is it working for the original winner's winner? Do you know the original's winner's winner? I know you kind of in a box during football season.
Right.
But on Chad and Brad Live, we try to, each podcast, find a winner's winner in an athletic event, band competition, ROTC, whatever it is.
Okay.
And the original's winner's winner was Mr. Jared Jones. And so next time you see, there's no more Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
It's just the original.
Call him W squared.
There you go, W squared. But he seems like, I was excited when he got this job. I've known him a little bit. And it seems like he's got a lot of energy.
Yes.
And I noticed he was there with you guys yesterday and down at NC State at the press conferences. Tell me a little bit about the leadership here, which means so much, as you know, being in high school sports.
Sure.
Feeds down. So
well, and he has done a tremendous job, and I think his personality and mine are very similar in our leadership styles. So that has worked out well for us.
Yeah.
It goes a long ways that he was involved in college athletics on the coaching and administrative side. So he has an idea of not only the importance of sports, but the importance of academics and sports tied together. A lot of times you'll hear people talk about they don't get it, and they don't, talking about people, they don't get it, but there's a lot more to quote unquote getting it than people think.
Exactly.
It's not just about sports. It's not just about the band or just about athletics or academics. It's how it all ties in together in the big picture. And I think Mr. Jones, his view of the big picture and his leadership style is done very well.
I love it, and that's why I think that this high school in particular is so successful from anything that we do here. Know, and we love to win, but not necessarily if we don't win, we still put forth everything that we've got, and we've got a lot of support. And eventually, as well as I do, that brings winning. So I heard your comments yesterday in Raleigh about this football team being so selfless. Talk to me a little bit about that and how you think that, because I believe that gives you an edge in every game. but especially this game that we're going into Saturday, it comes in, to play so much more.
Right. Well, it does, and I almost couldn't explain it unless you were a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But to sit back and to reflect on the season, and our running backs, we have several really good running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Only one plays at a time, and they rotate through pretty evenly.
Right.
Logan and Mitchell get most downs, but Elijah's gotten a lot, and we have other guys that could carry the ball,
Mm-hmm.
and they willingly rotate that.
Right.
It's not. No one's upset that he scored a touchdown and I didn't.
Sure.
So that goes a long ways, because by now at the end of the year we have running backs that are fresh. They're not beat up. They're not jealous of each other.
Mm-hmm.
We have several starting running backs who are going to play.
Yeah.
And the easy one that stands out on paper is Jefferson and Steven at the quarterback position. I know either one, if they started and played every snap, would have broken lots of records.
Right.
Collectively, like I said, they have come close to 4,000 yards and 54 touchdowns together. That's impressive.
That's wild.
But they've split those numbers up, and they've done it with a smile on their face. If they are upset about it, honestly, they probably should be a little bit, But it doesn't affect how they play, doesn't affect how they are as teammates. The goal in that locker room is to be where we are right now.
Right.
And we're 2 days away from the ultimate goal and trying to bring it home.
Absolutely. Well, and I know a lot of those boys, and it rings true, your words. I think they want to win. They play for one another.
Mm-hmm.
I think they really like each other a lot, every one of those guys. Tell us about, you spoke about, we always hear about those guys. Without those guys, or without the offensive line, that don't happen. Because Stephen Gosnell is one of the, I told him the other night, a freakish athlete for a white boy that I've seen. But without offensive line, some of those plays don't happen. Tell us about the guys that don't get all the credit: offensive line, defensive line, special teams.
Well, and that I talked about it a lot yesterday, actually, down in Raleigh. The fact that we have stayed healthy and our 5 offensive linemen have taken every snap together this year, that is huge for a team, because the right guard and the right tackle block together every play, the left guard, the left tackle, and the fact that the same 2 guys have got to work together every play all year long, and just the chemistry that's there, that's been one of the major reasons for us to be as successful as we are.
Yeah.
And those guys and Coach Witt, they get down, and I told Coach Witt this the other day. One of the most impressive things to me this year is that during offensive practice, we've been able to split up, and he's been able to just take the offensive line, and I'll be able to take the other group with Coach Johnson. And I know that they are going to be coached, and I know that their guys are going hard, and they're going to give everything they got.
Yeah. That's a huge deal as a head coach when you got people on your staff that you can trust to go on and takes the load off of you. You don't feel like you have to be at every spot all the time.
Right. And but those guys, they want the offensive line. If it's a close situation, they want us to run the ball right behind them.
Yeah.
And they've got that edge about them, and I love that.
Oh yeah.
And the defensive line, you got Dylan Sawyer's. And just to talk about selfless, Dylan would much rather play linebacker. And his size-wise would be a linebacker type guy. But he is such a good defensive lineman. That's where we needed him.
Right.
He's done that all year long. He's got double-teamed most every play, because if he don't, he usually makes a tackle.
Yeah.
So that's just been another selfless act, a senior football player to willingly do that all year long, and just been solid. Dylan is the guy that every coach we talk to mentions when they watch him on film.
Really?
About how hard he plays and how good he plays.
Yeah.
And then just the other defensive linemen really have rotated. Mitchell's been down there. He plays inside some, he plays outside some, and everybody around here knows Mitchell, and everybody knows what kind of football player he is.
Right.
And he's just going to do whatever it takes to find a way to win.
Yeah. That's what you want.
And those guys on both sides of the ball have just been solid all year.
Yeah. Well, next question I got for you, Coach, is, and just be honest with me. Were you contacted by Appalachian State University with a coaching vacancy?
Well, I turned them down.
Okay, well, hey, I wanted to get to you before. I got the breaking news on my app today that they did hire someone. So
they weren't offering as much money
well, there
as
you
Surrey
go.
County Schools.
Hey, you can't beat SCS, right? Moving on here, we don't have a lot more time, but I was thinking about, you guys have had one more wild of a week. If you say, hey, guys, let's just plan it here. We're gonna have a great season, and we're gonna go, state playoffs. We're gonna go undefeated. We're gonna win the Western Regional. We're going to state championship. What do you think that week's going to be like of the state championship? Are you kidding me? We get 15, 16 inches of snow. You don't have a football field to practice on.
Right.
You've got, I don't know. Not to mention the kids aren't in school like Coach Johnson was talking about a while ago. I mean, that throws you off. You don't know. You hope they're doing what they need to be doing at home, staying off the roads, not getting in the gym, playing pickup basketball, something stupid. But tell me about how, just tell us about your week.
Well, Monday, first off, we brought them in Saturday because we knew last week that this was likely to happen.
Right.
So we brought them right back in Saturday morning, and we made sure that we had basically a buddy system to be able to communicate in case people's power went out, to get messages out.
I like it.
We pretty much told them then, Monday's a no-go. If we get what we're looking at, we're not going to be able to see you on Monday. And to be ready for Tuesday, we had already contacted Wake Forest, trying to line it up with them, spoke with the Civic Center across the road, and we knew we were going to have somewhere to go. We had to stay in contact with the school system to make sure we'd be allowed to go somewhere. And but it just worked out that way. And we brought the kids in. It's been optional. We're not in school, so you can't require practice.
Sure.
But they've all optioned to come.
There you go.
Obviously.
Another sign of leadership within the coaching staff and these kids.
Right.
And
so for the last 2 days, we've loaded up and drove down to Wake Forest and practiced in their indoor facility. And, we've had 2 really, really good days. But would love to be able to get outside in the elements to acclimate to the weather a little bit. But,
Hey, Chad Wayne and I know something about the elements. We're going to have to get you a copy of our podcast. We like to get out in the elements as much as possible too, but carry on.
Okay.
But
it's been a headache, but at the same time, we had 42 kids get to go practice at a divisional indoor facility for 2 days.
That's outstanding.
And
outstanding.
I think I wouldn't trade that. They're never going to forget this week.
Yeah.
They're going to get to practice at Wake Forest, and they're going to get to play at NC State.
Yeah.
And it's worth that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been really cool to follow. So how was yesterday, the press conference? I saw, some of the pictures that were put out on Twitter and Facebook. That's got to be a great day. I mean, that's something else.
It is, and it's not. I'm rambling on now, but I don't love to talk a whole lot.
Right.
So, to be interviewed about 6 or 7 different times in one morning, that kind of wears you out. But at the same time, it was really neat. And, to be around some of those coaches, like Murphy was there I've won 11 times.
Yeah.
Coach Teague from Reedsville was there. These guys that have state records for how many times they've been to or in state championships, and they're down there. And just to be with that group, and to get to be one of the 16 teams left, and they mentioned that the start of the year with 376 teams playing football in North Carolina.
Wow.
And we're one of
Here
16 left. And just to think about that and to get to really just sit down yesterday and take that in was neat.
Yeah. That's really cool. Really cool. Coach, do you follow Chad and Brad live on Instagram?
I don't, because I don't have an Instagram.
Okay.
And I didn't know about the
we're going to have to help Daddy with that, okay? We're going to have to help Daddy with that. Okay, and I do notice one thing is I follow you on Twitter personally. I'd like to follow back this evening if we can work that out. Okay,
I can work
Coach?
that out.
All right, Coach. Hey, another thing, we were talking about coaching staff. I actually spoke to a couple of your players earlier this week, and I was telling them stories about how I actually played Surrey Central High School, played my junior and senior year. I played for Coach Alex Mebin, but one of our assistants was Kelly Holder, who used to be at Mount Airy. So I was a great crack blocker, like one of the best crack blockers ever. Okay, and somehow those boys got a hold of Coach Holder and asked him who the best crack blocker was that he'd ever seen, and And he said I was really good, but I wasn't the best. But I want to clarify, okay, on this broadcast right now, that I did speak with Coach Holder, and he was in a deep sleep and was awoken, however you say that. And he didn't really know what he was talking about, so his wits were back at him. If you need any help next year, we don't want to put that in this year. But I got one good crack block a game.
Well, and you know what? The state has done away with those.
Really?
Yeah. That is
Surely that was not. When was that? Was that right after '94?
No, it was just the last year or two.
Okay.
You are not allowed to crack block anymore.
I'll be damned.
That's a shame.
It is a shame. That's a shame. But anyway, just a fun tidbit there. Finally, let's get down here. We'll start wrapping this up. This has been really fun. Let's talk about East Surrey versus Tarboro. Don't have to get into your game plan or anything like that, but feel free to share what you can. What have you seen? I know you've probably watched a lot of tape. Obviously, they've got a little history there as well. How do you feel as far as our matchup? I actually pulled up our stats on Max Preps, and unless I was just looking at something crazy, I mean we lead a lot of those categories. It looks like, and maybe in rushing they may have a little edge on us there. They run the ball a lot. What's the plan? What's the keys to the game? Maybe the do's and the don'ts. Talk to us about that a little bit.
You know, Tarboro is an extremely good football team, an extremely good and established program. They do what they do. It's old school, double tight end, straight T formation. They're going to run the ball. They're going to throw it 4 or 5 times a game, and that's it. Defensively, they're going to line up in a base defense. They're going to read their keys. They're going to react fast, and it's not going to come down to scheme. It's not, nobody's going to trick anybody on Saturday.
Yeah.
We have to outplay them, and we're going to have to want it more. We're going to try to spread it out and throw the ball around like we've done all year long. And when it opens running lanes, we'll take advantage of that. Hopefully, that'll happen. But they are, without a doubt, they're going to be the best team we've played this year.
Yeah.
They've been there. I think this is the 7th time in 11 years.
Yeah.
And they're there for a reason. And I think Saturday, one big thing is that people talk about us being a young football team, and we are, but a lot of our young guys have experience. It's not their first year on varsity, but we can't get caught up in the all of playing at NC State. We just got to play our football game.
Yeah.
And because they're going to play theirs.
Sure.
They're used to playing there. To them, it's just going to be another game, and we've got to have that same mindset going in.
You said something there. To them, it's just going to be another game, and I feel like that if we have one of the edges that we may have is just that, and they've been there, but maybe not knowing what they're going to look at East Surrey coming in the football game. I think we've got an edge on them, and we're all really excited about it. I feel like that our players. You guys have got them where they need to be, and they're going to go there with one thing in mind, and that's an expectation to win that football game. Sure. I'm jacked up.
Yes, sir.
One last thing here. Chad and myself and our families and some other folks are planning on going down early Saturday and tailgating.
Right.
What's your go-to tailgate menu?
Can't go wrong with chicken wings or meatballs.
Chicken wings or meatballs.
Or those little hot ham and cheese sandwiches.
Yes.
Those are
yes. Oh man, I can't wait.
You can tell I like to eat.
Yeah, so. Me too. I love it. I love it. I'm excited. Okay, so we got chicken wings and meatballs. I'll make sure I take that back. We got this Red Mile going on Saturday morning, right? So what exactly are we doing here with this? So everybody know where to be. I know we've got flyers and information.
I don't know all the details.
Okay. I think we're going to get on. You guys are loading the buses.
I know there's a little celebration going to be happening here.
Right here.
And then from here to taking a ride on Key Street and getting on 52 is the Red Mile. And
you just coach. Don't worry about the Red Mile and ride. But I think you guys are going to take go down Main Street here, and then we'll turn right by the CVS and head towards 52, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people out there waving at you, supporting you, cheering you guys on. And I know we're pre-selling tickets, so folks can buy tickets tomorrow in the office. They're $15, I believe that's right, or $14 or $15 in the office. You can purchase those. There's on East Surrey Athletics and East Surrey Football, I think, are retweeting information or tweeting information and Facebooking information about parking, what you can and can't take into the stadium.
Right.
But I know one thing is the East Surrey High School Cardinals football program is showing up, and we're going to be loud and proud,
Yes, sir.
and we're going to paint it redder than it already is, baby.
That's
All
right.
Coach, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. It's great to meet you. I feel like we're best friends now, man.
I think we are.
Yeah, I think we are.
I think we are.
Aniston, thank you for being here with us, and let me share your daddy with you a minute. Folks, we look forward to seeing everybody Saturday night, Carter Finley Stadium, campus of NC State University. 6 o'clock game time. Be there early. Wear your red. Let's rock and roll. All right. This is Brad Davis from Chad and Brad Live. Thank you, Coach.